Top 25 HMRC Compliance Caseworker Interview Questions and Answers. Preparing for an HMRC Compliance Caseworker interview means showing strong judgment, fairness, attention to detail, and confidence when dealing with customers. Interviewers may test how you investigate information, follow guidance, communicate clearly, manage deadlines, and make evidence-based decisions. Strong answers should use the STAR method: situation, task, action, and result. The examples below are written in a practical style you can adapt to your own experience. Each answer highlights professionalism, integrity, teamwork, customer focus, and the ability to support HMRC's compliance work effectively in real interview situations with confidence today. 1. Tell me about yourself and why you want to work as an HMRC compliance caseworker. I have experience working with information, handling customers, and making careful decisions. I want this role because it combines investigation, public service, and fairness. I understand that HMRC compliance caseworkers help ensure the right tax is paid by checking facts and evidence. I would bring patience, accuracy, and clear communication. I also enjoy learning complex rules and applying them consistently to real customer situations within a professional compliance working environment. 2. Why do you want to work for HMRC? I want to work for HMRC because its work has a direct impact on public services and fairness across the tax system. I respect the responsibility of helping customers meet their obligations while treating them professionally. HMRC also offers strong training, development, and career progression. I am motivated by work that requires integrity, evidence-based decisions, and clear communication, which makes this role a strong fit for me and everyone involved. 3. What do you understand about the HMRC compliance caseworker role? My understanding is that a compliance caseworker reviews information, checks records, identifies risks, and decides whether the correct tax has been paid. The role requires gathering evidence, asking relevant questions, keeping accurate case notes, and communicating with customers or representatives. It is not about assuming wrongdoing. It is about finding facts, following HMRC guidance, treating people fairly, and making lawful, impartial decisions based on evidence in every customer case situation. 4. How would you handle a difficult customer during a compliance check? I would remain calm, professional, and focused on the facts. First, I would listen carefully to understand the customer's concern and avoid interrupting. Then I would explain the purpose of the compliance check, what information is needed, and why. If the customer became upset, I would acknowledge their frustration while maintaining boundaries. My aim would be to de-escalate the situation and keep communication respectful throughout the whole customer service interaction. 5. Describe a time you used evidence to make a decision. In a previous role, I noticed conflicting information in a customer record. Instead of making an immediate decision, I reviewed the documents, checked the system history, and compared the details against policy. I also asked a colleague to review my reasoning. The evidence showed that the original entry was incorrect. I corrected the record, explained the decision clearly, and helped prevent the same issue happening again, which improved customer accuracy. 6. How would you prioritize a heavy caseload? I would prioritize by urgency, risk, deadlines, and the impact of each case. I would first identify statutory or customer response deadlines, then review which cases require immediate action. I would use a task list or case management system to track progress. If priorities changed, I would update my plan and inform my manager early. This helps maintain quality while ensuring important work is completed on time without unnecessary delays. 7. Tell me about a time you worked as part of a team. In my previous role, our team had to complete a high volume of customer queries before a deadline. I offered to organize the shared tracker, divide tasks fairly, and support newer colleagues. We held short check-ins to monitor progress and discuss difficult cases. By working together, we cleared the backlog on time and improved consistency. The experience showed me the value of communication and shared responsibility under real-time pressure. 8. How would you ensure accuracy in your casework? I would ensure accuracy by checking information carefully, following HMRC guidance, and recording my reasoning clearly. I would avoid relying on assumptions and would compare evidence from different sources where appropriate. For complex issues, I would ask for advice before making a final decision. I would also review my work before sending letters or updating records, because small errors can affect customer confidence and case outcomes at every casework stage. 9. Give an example of when you delivered good customer service. A customer once contacted us confused about a process and worried about missing a deadline. I listened, checked the relevant information, and explained the next steps in simple language. I also confirmed what they needed to provide and when. The customer thanked me because they felt reassured and understood. This taught me that good service means being accurate, patient, clear, and respectful at the same time, even under real pressure. 10. How would you deal with confidential information? I would handle confidential information with care and follow all data protection, security, and HMRC policies. I would only access information needed for my work and never discuss cases with unauthorized people. I would check addresses, attachments, and recipients before sharing information. If I suspected a data breach, I would report it immediately. Protecting customer data is essential for trust, professionalism, and legal compliance in every sensitive customer case interaction. 11. Describe a time you had to learn something complex quickly. In a previous job, I had to learn a new internal system before a busy period. I read the guidance, watched training materials, practiced with test records, and asked targeted questions. I then created quick notes for myself and shared useful tips with colleagues. Within a short time, I was using the system confidently. This shows I can learn complex processes and apply them under pressure in a structured way. 12. How would you handle a case where the evidence is incomplete? I would not make assumptions or rush the decision. I would identify exactly what evidence is missing, check existing records, and request further information from the customer or relevant sources. I would explain clearly what is needed and provide a reasonable deadline. If information still remained incomplete, I would follow guidance and document my reasoning. A fair decision must be based on available evidence and proper process without unnecessary delay. 13. Tell me about a time you challenged a decision or raised a concern. I once noticed that a process being followed could lead to inconsistent customer outcomes. I reviewed the guidance first to make sure I understood the issue. Then I raised it respectfully with my manager, using examples to explain the risk. We discussed the concern and agreed a clearer approach for the team. I learned that challenging constructively is important when fairness, accuracy, or service quality may be affected at work. 14. How would you manage a mistake in your work? If I made a mistake, I would take responsibility and act quickly. I would first assess the impact, inform my manager if necessary, and correct the error following the correct process. I would also explain honestly if the mistake affected a customer. Afterward, I would reflect on why it happened and put steps in place to prevent repetition. Accountability is important in compliance casework and protects fair customer service standards. 15. What does integrity mean to you in this role? Integrity means being honest, fair, and consistent even when decisions are difficult. In this role, it means following evidence and guidance rather than personal opinion. It also means treating every customer with respect, protecting confidential information, and declaring any conflict of interest. A compliance caseworker must be trusted to make impartial decisions. Without integrity, customers and colleagues cannot have confidence in the process, especially during difficult and sensitive casework situations. 16. How would you explain a complex tax issue to a customer? I would first understand the customer's knowledge level and then explain the issue in plain, clear language. I would avoid unnecessary jargon and break the information into steps. I would confirm their understanding by asking if anything needed clarification. If appropriate, I would refer to written guidance or follow up in writing. Clear communication helps customers understand what action they need to take and why at each full case stage. 17. Describe a time you had to meet a tight deadline. In a previous role, I was asked to prepare several reports at short notice. I reviewed the deadline, broke the work into smaller tasks, and identified which parts were most urgent. I removed distractions and updated my manager on progress. I completed the reports on time without reducing quality. This experience taught me to stay organized, communicate early, and remain calm when pressure increases, without creating avoidable mistakes or delays. 18. How would you respond if a customer disagreed with your decision? I would listen carefully and allow the customer to explain why they disagreed. I would then review the evidence and check whether any new information had been provided. If the decision remained the same, I would explain the reasons clearly and professionally, including any next steps or review options. If the customer provided valid evidence, I would update the case. Fairness means being open to correction throughout the decision process. 19. What strengths would you bring to HMRC? I would bring strong attention to detail, calm communication, and a responsible approach to decision-making. I am comfortable reviewing information, identifying inconsistencies, and asking questions when something is unclear. I also work well with colleagues and understand the importance of public trust. My strengths would help me manage compliance cases professionally, support customers effectively, and contribute to HMRC's wider goal of fairness in a demanding compliance environment every working day. 20. Tell me about a time you improved a process. In a previous role, I noticed colleagues were spending too much time searching for repeated information. I created a simple, shared checklist and organized common guidance links in one place. I tested it with the team and adjusted it based on feedback. The change reduced errors and saved time. This showed me that small improvements can make work more efficient while supporting better quality and consistency for the whole team. 21. How would you stay motivated during repetitive casework? I would stay motivated by focusing on the purpose of the work and the importance of each case. Even if tasks are repetitive, accuracy and fairness still matter. I would set small goals, manage my workload carefully, and look for ways to improve efficiency. I also enjoy learning, so I would use feedback and new cases to build my knowledge. Consistency is part of professionalism throughout each busy working week. 22. Describe a time you had to follow rules or guidance carefully. In a previous role, I handled requests that had to follow strict internal procedures. I made sure I understood the guidance, checked each step before acting, and kept accurate records. When I was unsure, I asked for clarification rather than guessing. As a result, the work was completed correctly, and no rework was needed. This experience is relevant because compliance work depends on following guidance accurately in every customer case. 23. How would you build positive working relationships with colleagues? I would build positive relationships by being reliable, respectful, and willing to support others. I would communicate clearly, share useful information, and ask for help when needed. I would also listen to different views, because colleagues may have valuable experience. In a compliance environment, teamwork helps improve decision-making and consistency. Good relationships make it easier to handle challenges and deliver a better service, even during busy casework periods at work. 24. What would you do if you were unsure about a case decision? If I was unsure, I would review the evidence again, check the relevant guidance, and consider whether more information was needed. I would not guess or make a decision just to close the case quickly. If uncertainty remained, I would seek advice from a manager or experienced colleague. I would record the reasoning clearly. This approach protects fairness, quality, and confidence in the final decision for every customer case involved. 25. Why should we hire you as an HMRC compliance caseworker? You should hire me because I can combine accuracy, professionalism, and customer focus. I understand the importance of making evidence-based decisions and treating people fairly. I am organized, willing to learn, and comfortable handling detailed information. I would take training seriously and apply guidance carefully. My communication skills, integrity, and attention to detail would help me contribute positively to HMRC's compliance work from the start in this important public role. A successful HMRC compliance caseworker interview is about more than giving perfect answers. You need to show that you can think fairly, investigate carefully, communicate clearly, and follow guidance with confidence. Prepare examples that prove your attention to detail, teamwork, resilience, and integrity. Try to structure each response using STAR so your answer sounds organized and evidence-based. With strong preparation, you can present yourself as someone who understands the responsibility of compliance work and is ready to serve customers and HMRC professionally every day in a fair public service environment.